Your old man was murdered?
Yeah, threw a group out the week before for drug dealing. They were very, very well-known gangsters. They come back a week later and killed him. You know, growing up from 11 onwards without a dad's quite hard, you know. I was very angry, picking fights with doormen and gangsters. I was lucky to come out the other side. This woke generation, they can't
It's
take
gone soft, isn't it? Really soft.
I know what I'm saying is what the majority think, but they won't say. Your average person has got a job, they've got a boss. They don't want to be seen to be rocking the boat.
Right.
I've had top celebrities, you know, household names, text me and say, bang on what you just said. My dream was always to have a bar. I had every celeb, probably one of the most popular bars in West Essex.
What sort of faces you used to get in there?
John Terry used to come in. Some nights I'd have 10, 15 Premier League footballers, but then amongst them I'd have proper gangsters. Coming back to Twitter, where it exploded, Brexit, COVID, I was very, very outspoken. And then GB News messaged me and said, I need you on my show.
Where did the boxing get involved?
I'm a Misfits fighter. I took my son to a KSI fight, and my boy went, Dad, could you get on this?
Before we finish up here, have you got one last word to say to your old man? Adam, welcome to the show, mate.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, very much looking forward to it. Where we just come down from Essex?
Essex, yeah. Little 3-hour drive. I stopped off at the services, had a little cup of tea.
Break it up.
Yeah.
Lovely, lovely. Let's roll all the way back. Where did you grow up and how did you end up becoming a publican TV presenter and now boxer?
Right, so my family's originally from Bethnal Green, but via West London, we ended up in Essex when I was like 3. Grew up above pubs.
You go above pubs?
Yeah, grew up above
Yeah, same
pubs.
here.
Did you, yeah?
Yeah, mate, from the age of 18, 19.
Strange old childhood, that.
It's every time you meet someone who grew up in pubs, they're a different breed, right?
Yeah.
You just know, yeah.
Yeah, it's strange.
Yeah.
You used to sort of have local kids coming and sort of wanting to play with you in
That's
the pub
right.
garden.
Fruit machine, behind the bar pouring pints.
Yeah, I've become very good at pool when I was young,
same,
darts
same.
and everything like that.
Same.
You know, it was...
And you're around, I find, growing up in pubs in London, is we had a nightclub next door as well, but you're around lots of naughty people, happy people. Everyone's wheeling dealing, everyone's earning a pound note, police raids, things going on, madness everywhere.
Yeah, it was madness. You know, I used to look out of my bedroom window sometimes in the fights I used to see in the car parks.
I used to love it though. I used to watch it over the bedroom window, seeing terror.
Normally it was me dad knocking everyone out, you know. So it was it was an interesting growing up, you know. And one thing I do remember, I don't know if you had this, I remember the smell of smoke.
Yeah, of course.
My bedroom used to just fill up with smoke.
And kitchen smells of the cooking.
Yeah. But I've always hated smoking. And I think it was because as a childhood, it just used to fill my bedroom.
Same.
You know?
Same. Absolutely, I didn't know this.
Yeah.
My old man, I growing up, watching your old man throwing people out the booze or having tear-ups, it was the norm for me.
Yeah.
My old man was a bodybuilder back in the days, in the 80s and 90s, a big lump of a man. And there was no doorman back then. There was no, like, security or badge doorman or just bouncers. He was the first one to bring the bouncers on the door to save him the hassle, you know?
Yeah. Well, like, I used to play rugby. Like, my dad put me into rugby as a young boy. So we used to go to all the tournaments and it used to get a bit heated on the sidelines. But my dad was very quiet, mild man, but he was a ex-boxer from the East End, very well known.
Yeah.
And I used to just dread anyone saying anything to him, you know, just because I knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
But luckily it didn't. But he had a few words with people, but he seemed to have a way of calming things down.
This is so familiar, by the way. I didn't know this. My old man would be on the side of the pitch while I was playing. He'd have 2 Alsatians. Right. Because they were the guard dogs. He'd come and watch every single game on the side of the pitch. Mate, this is weird.
Yeah, really weird.
Really
but
weird.
It is.
Anyway, back to you.
But growing up in pubs, it was character building, as you say.
Yeah, definitely character building.
You know?
How long? What pubs were you in? East London, was it? Or Essex. Okay.
Well, from the age of 0 to 3, I was in West London, so Little Venice, Maid of Vale.
Okay, nice.
Above a pub called the Bridge House.
Nice.
So my mum used to take me for walks around the canals and all that. She said, like, we'd walk past sort of druggies and whatever, and then Joan Collins would walk past on the other side. So it was a real mix.
That's right.
You know, it was like a village within London. But it was rough. And on opening night there, I mean, I wasn't born then, local Irish families all come and try to stick it on me dad in the pub on the opening night.
Yeah.
and they ended up getting thrown out the windows by like Bethnal Green boxers.
What's the quality?
You know, and then like a lot of threats were made.
Yeah.
So my dad and his friends went down, I think it was Kennington Market or whatever, upended all their market stalls and said, look, you come to us, we'll come to you.
Yeah.
So like, it was a mad time.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't born then, but some of the trouble that happened in that pub,
Yeah.
I mean, that's why they wanted to move to Essex for a quieter life, but it didn't sort of end up that way.
Hi guys, just giving you the quick heads up. We've just launched a new VIP membership on Patreon. This gives you exclusive episodes, behind the scenes footage never seen before, VIP community chat, and early access to all episodes. If you love what we do, for the sake of a cheeky pint a month, £5 a month, come and support the channel. It allows us to grow even bigger. Really? Interesting. So what was it like Essex growing up? What's school life like for you?
School life was all right. Sort of up until 11, I was at a normal sort of state school. Yeah. Had my friends. I mean, many of my friends from junior school ended up in prison or drug addicts. You know, there was characters. Yeah. But at the age of 11, my mum and dad, even though we lived above the pub, they paid for private education for me. I was very sporty, rugby, swimming. So for 5 years or so, I had a private education, which
lovely.
I thank them so much for investing in me. Same. You know, because I had my friends outside of school, but it kept me away from maybe the wrong types, the wrong direction that I could have gone in. Yeah. So, you know, even though I was probably the least educated from my group of friends at school, you know, I got the worst grades, even though they was all right grades. It just set me in good stead. Yeah. You know, my sports sort of excelled. I had a good life, you know. So I thank them for funding
amazing,
that. You know?
Amazing. And what was life like? Were you living like a double life, going to private school, then coming back to the boozer?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, look, I at the age of 11, my dad was murdered in our family pub. Yeah.
Your old man was murdered?
Yeah. So a machete gang come back. He threw a group out the week before for drug dealing. They were very, very well-known gangsters. Very, you know, the police, they had the police in their pocket and everything. He didn't care. Like, my dad had no fear. He didn't ask for help from anyone. It could have been sorted out. He didn't ask for help. They come back a week later and killed him.
You're joking, mate.
No. So, you know, growing up from 11 onwards without a dad's quite hard, you know?
Oh, mate, I got fucking shivers.
But again, that was...
Where were you? Where were you when this happened?
So we was moving from one pub. They was on the estate. Yeah. So they were a state pub. So they were quite lively anyway. Yeah. But we was moving from one pub to another pub. So I was still living above the other one. Yeah. And it happened in the one that we was just about to sort of occupy. But, you know, thank God I weren't there, because I might have seen something out of the window or whatever. Yeah. But, you know, for a year, or probably 6 months to a year, my mum said he died in a car crash.
Okay.
And it was only that an older cousin said, look, did you see that in the... It was all in the Sun newspaper and whatever. And then, so I knew something was up. So then I started finding out the truth. But it messed me up for, I would say, for a good sort of 10, 15 years. Because I used to think that, oh no, that hasn't happened. He's going to come back. Well, it is. He's got in trouble. And this was just a story, to, you know. But the things that you do in your mind as a child, you know, like you watch EastEnders and suddenly they come back from the dead, but they were missing, you know, like as a kid, you fantasize about this sort of thing. And I think for 10 years, I sort of thought he was coming back.
Yeah. Wow.
You know,
man.
But when I think back about my childhood, I was a very angry teenager, getting in a lot of trouble, like in clubs and bars and pubs, which, you know, is what I'm against now. I'm the other side, but I was very angry, you know, and alcohol didn't do me any favours. It just amplified that anger. And I think for a couple of years, I was on like a suicide mission. It's like I was seeking out the most dangerous person I could have a row with, you know, because I sort of had this, picture in my head of my dad as sort of as a martyr. As someone that I wanted to be.
Yeah, well, your hero, was he?
Yeah, he was my hero, of course. You know, I knew he was a strong man. And what had happened to him, people were talking to me about him. Old friends call your dad, you know, very handy, this, that. Lovely man, but, you didn't mess with him. And that, as a kid, you sort of fantasize about, hold on a minute, I want to be that.
Yeah.
if something happens to me or when something happens to me, I want people to say that about me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
So I think I went on a bit of like a kamikaze run for a few years, sort of picking fights with doormen and gangsters and all sorts. And I think really I was lucky to come out the other side. And I also, I met my wife at 18.
Your current wife now?
Yeah.
We've
been like 25 years.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Amazing. Well done.
Met her in Mallorca.
Well done to her.
Yeah. But she was 16, I was 18.
Yeah.
And I honestly do believe if I hadn't met her, she had a good family as well, that I would have gone the wrong way.
Yeah.
You know, she pulled me in, not enough sometimes during my 20s, but she pulled me in. And I don't think I'd have anything if it weren't for her. You know, she knows that. I'd tell it to her. But even now, she'd say to me, "Oh, what you said on the telly, you shouldn't have said that."
Yeah.
Or tone that down a little bit.
Yeah. It's good to
So
have, isn't it?
she's on me.
Yeah.
You know.
What's her name?
Chloe.
Chloe. Massive shout out to Chloe.
Yeah, big shout out to Chloe.
Amazing. What was your life like growing up with your mum after your dad passing?
So it was hard, you know. It was hard. That hit my mum very hard. So before I was born, my mum also lost a son, severely disabled. So she's had a bit of a hard life, my mum, you know. She's lost her son. She's lost her husband. She carried on with the pubs for a year or so before we come out. But yeah, look, my mum's an absolute warrior.
Yeah, I bet.
You know, lived harder life than most.
Yeah. Grew
up in the East End where 7 of them or whatever in a 2-bedroom flat.
Yeah.
You know, so
with a bathroom or a toilet outside.
Yeah, look. So you know, they've been through it, that generation.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, I wouldn't have a lot of it weren't for my mum. She's dug me out of holes when I've needed money or. Look, she backed me in my first venture, which was I always wanted to have a pub or a bar.
Oh, is that what you wanted?
Yeah,
is it
to keep the family name going? You know, and that was our sort of like 2 fingers up.
Yeah,
we ain't gone nowhere. You know, but it took till I was 25 to get my first bar. I left school, went to the city.
Did you go straight into the city?
Yeah, and you know what? That was character building as well. Something called the life floor. So it was a lot of like open outcry trading. We used to wear all the coloured jackets. Yeah. But you had like ex-bank robbers as traders up there. Right. Like it was mad.
Everyone was at it. What year are we talking here? We're talking the 90s?
96.
96, okay.
Yeah. I mean, the characters. Yeah. Like I walked on the floor. I had long hair back at the time, all slicked back, suntanned up. Like I loved the suntan when I was young. And I was immediately called Pretty Boy. Yeah. And that stuck. So I had a name, Pretty Boy, but I was tiny. Like until I was about 19, 20, I was tiny. Yeah. And I remember one day, one of the other runners, he was like a rugby player for Wasps. He picked me up one hand, and he put me on the coat hanger, and I was just hanging there. I was 16. Like mad stories, you know. And it was that educated me a lot because you had to learn about banter. Yeah. You had to learn about taking criticism. Taking abuse. Yeah. You know, I used to be on the phones to the office, putting orders into the pits, and they're calling me a CUNT. They're calling me every name under the sun. That wouldn't happen now. No. You know,
I used to enjoy those times when men would say it how it is.
Yeah. But I mean, when I look back, like it was horrific what I used to get called and what happened. But again, it was character building. Yeah. You know, the real world, you're going to get called names. Yeah. Now, today's generation, they can't take, you know, they cannot, this woke generation, they can't take.
Soft, isn't it?
Too soft.
Really soft. Yeah. I'm seeing it change month to month. That's how soft this country's getting. People.
It's scary because, again, I've got a 14-year-old boy. Yeah. I've got a 10-year-old daughter and a 4-year-old daughter. Yeah. And I'm scared the way that the world is going because everyone is perpetually offended. You can't say this, you can't say that. You know, I've even had one of my son's teachers said to him, "Oh, your dad's Twitter account is very interesting." And I know what they're saying, you know. But again, you know, I will just say, like here, I will say what I feel, and I don't really care what people think.
Good for you.
You know,
there's not many people out there who are as vocal as you saying what you're saying, but there's millions of people following you going, you know what? Yeah. What he's saying is the truth.
And I know, listen, I'm a publican. I speak to people every day. Yeah. You know, I speak to my mates. I speak to people in the street. I speak to everyone online. I know what I'm saying is what the majority think. Yeah. but they won't say.
Why won't the majority speak up and back you and say, you know what, I'm behind you on this?
Because, look, we've the culture now is cancel culture. So this woke ideology, I call it, you know, it's about shutting people up that they don't like. They don't want to debate me.
Yeah.
They'd rather get me cancelled, get me took off the show, get me took off of Twitter. And your average person has got a job, they've got a boss. They don't want to be seen to be rocking the boat. Right. So even, you know, I've said this before, I've had top celebrities, names that, you know, household names, text me and say, bang on what you just said last night on the channel. Bang on what you just tweeted. I can't say that. And I feel like saying, well, nothing's going to change until you say it.
Yeah.
But then they lose their sponsorship deal or they lose their radio gig or whatever. And that's what we've got. We've got corporations now filled with these woke, perpetually offended people that are controlling our society via threats, really, and labelling.
Yeah.
So, you know, I get called racist online, transphobic, I'm homophobic, I'm a fascist, I'm a Nazi. I'm none of those things. But these people just throw these labels about because you say something that they disagree with. So they'd rather, you know, if I put a tweet up.
Give me an example of a tweet that's had a massive reaction for you.
Well, one of the things I really fight back against is like biological men in women's toilets. So I get called a transphobe. Oh, he's anti-trans and all that. I'm not anti-trans. Look, Dodge, if at home or you wanted to go to a bar, wear a dress, nice bit of lippy or whatever, that's down to you. You know, you're not really affecting anyone. But as soon as you walk into that toilet, my wife, my daughter or whatever could end up being exposed to something I don't want them to see.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we've got some high-profile names that use women's toilets. They're men. They've got their full tackle.
So there's high-profile people using women's toilets who are blokes dressed as a woman. Yeah. Like who?
You've got people like Eddie Izzard that wakes up one morning and decides he wants to dress as a woman. Yeah. But if he gets a phone call from Hollywood, he'll go and do a role as a man. Yeah. You know, but now he's saying no, he's trans and he identifies as a woman. I think he calls himself Susie, right? You know, it's and again, look, if I see him in the street, or if someone was giving him, you know, shit in the street,
you'd back him.
I would say, oh, stop that.
Yeah.
But I don't want him in the same toilet as my wife, my daughter, my mum, whatever. He's got most trans women who are biological men still have their meat and two veg.
Yeah.
So they're exposing themselves really in changing rooms, in toilets.
It's not on.
It's not on.
No, it's not on.
And even like before I come here, I was reading certain stories. There's a 50-year-old man in Canada that identifies as a 13-year-old girl, and he's allowed to swim against 13-year-old girls in swimming events. He's allowed to change in the same changing rooms. The parents have objected, but because of the woke swimming association say we can't, you know, discriminate. He says he's a 13-year-old or he says he's a woman. We have to respect that. No,
it's stupid. I was around at a dinner party the other day. A friend of ours was telling about their daughter is in a class that she's 12-year-old. One of the kids in the class identifies as a cat. Yeah. It comes, stick on ears, a tail on its Harris, and goes. She goes meow instead of yes. So, or they have to go at the back. They go, I want to get a drink, miss. Goes back, sticks the tail on, ears on while everyone's there. There's a cat litter tray at the back. They're on their all fours licking milk out of a bowl. Are you fucking? Are you serious?
This is where we've gone so far. The teachers and you know the teaching associations and unions, they do not want to be seen as not being inclusive and not supporting these kids. At the end of the day, that's a mental illness. Let's have it right.
Yeah, but I think it could be a mental illness. Is it the parents? I put it on LinkedIn the other day. It went viral, and I'm saying I want to speak to I've got a podcast. Parents, if you got kids as identifying as a cat and you're allowing that, please come on and have a chat. Yeah. Or the head miss. And what's happened is there's loads of people piped up saying that all these different schools are allowing it. Yeah. Let's get the headmaster on or headmistress on. Let's have a chat and find out.
It's definitely happening because one of my kids' schools, there was a kid that identified. I forget what animal it was, but this is a thing. It becomes a bit of a trend. Like I believe the trans movement has become. It's become trendy to become either an ally of the trends, the trans lot, or to be trans.
Yeah.
Like all this non-binary stuff. This really is, it's either attention seeking by most or, you know, it is a mental illness. And I think, you know, back in the day, kids would change themselves somehow to be different, to get the attention.
Yeah.
Now it's easy to say, I want to be a girl.
Yeah.
Or I want to be a boy. And the teachers and parents pander to it.
Yeah, I agree.
But there was a case last week, I think might have been in the Telegraph, a 4-year-old was allowed to go to school as the different sex to what they were born. Now, no 4-year-old can decide that. My 4-year-old thinks she's Elsa. You know, they are children, and that really is the illness of the parents.
Yeah.
And shame on the teachers for pandering to it, because if I owned a school or whatever, I would say, look, that's not happening here.
But if you're employed as a teacher, you've got to go with the headmaster or the rules are. You can't go against it or you're going to lose your job.
But unfortunately, a lot of teachers are left-wing and what I call woke.
Yeah.
So they embrace this. They think it's, you know...
It's great for society. It's great for the kids. Let them be free.
Not.
I know. It's terrible, isn't it?
We are promoting mental illness, really. And we are trying to shape kids into things that they're not. And a lot of people, you know, there's people I speak to on the show as well that regret thinking that they could change sex. And some of them have gone through a lot changes and they said, you know, I was in a bad place there. Basically, they're admitting they had mental health at the time and that was their out.
Yeah.
If they could go back and change back, they would.
Yeah.
And that's the sad thing. You know, we're seeing things that, was it Costa Coffee that had mastectomy scars on, it was like a cartoon, I think, on one of the cups. There's children's books with mastectomy scars like in there and like encouraged. We cannot encourage kids to cut off body parts. Again, we're encouraging mental health issues.
It's crazy, isn't it?
And once you've cut them breasts off, they're not coming back.
Yeah, they've got my life,
You know, and why are we promoting this? This is extreme behaviour. Listen, it's going to happen to a very, very tiny amount of people. But the way things are happening, we're promoting that as that's normal.
Yeah.
You cut them off, Dodge. That's normal.
Yeah.
It's not normal. You know,
crazy, isn't it?
And as I said before, people must be able to live how they want to live. But let's not start cutting body parts off and pretending that
it's okay.
That's okay. It's not.
Let's roll a bit back there. When you were working in the city, what was your lifestyle like? What did you see in the city? Did you find it was rife of boozing and cocaine?
Look, between the 16 and 18, before I met my girlfriend, you know, it was getting drunk Thursday, Friday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You'd end up in the strip bars all the time. You know, it was laddish behaviour. You know, we'd get in some nights 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I had to get on the train at 5:30, 6. I would be so drunk coming back in. And there was one story, my friend Dean, he was a year older than me. We were both very young and we worked for a company called Tullet and Tokyo, very big company. And we had to be in early, but we'd been out the night before. And literally, I got on the train. It was the 5:30 train from Loughton, Central Line. And I went, Dean, I don't feel well at all. It's like Woodford Station, a couple of stations along. And it was quite empty, luckily. I mean, I don't feel right. He stood up. I stood up trying to make it to the doors. And I puked all over him. Dean just turned around, walloped me.
Have that.
Yeah, have that. But understood, but I couldn't help myself. You know, it was junk food, boozing, strip bars. It was pretty
full on
time.
How many years did you do that for?
So I was in the city from the age of 16 to about 24.
Okay. So you went to all the clubs, all the bottles, all the sparklers, all the bang, bang, bang.
Look, I never really hit it off in the city.
Yeah.
You know, I've got mates now that they're massive at what they do. It was enough money back then to go out, buy my clothes, enjoy life.
Do you not think my pals who are still in the city in their 40s now, they look haggard?
Yeah.
My pals look haggard.
A lot of them are going grey.
Yeah, grey and haggard and not as fit as they used. You know what I mean? It takes its toll, doesn't it?
It does seem to take its toll. Look, I can look at them. Some of them are earning absolute fortunes. And sometimes I think, should I have stayed in the city? That weren't for me, really.
Yeah.
You know, I've never been into drugs either. I mean, some of my mates that are in the city and big, they're not into drugs even. They never was. But the culture up there was very druggy.
Yeah.
In the city.
Isn't it mad that the amount of cocaine up there, and they're running our country on the stock exchange, and
but that's probably why my hangovers were a lot worse than theirs, because I was a bad boozer anyway.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't do any drugs,
Yeah.
and the hangovers were awful. But that culture, when I look back, that's not going to be repeated now.
Definitely not.
That's fizzling out.
Definitely not.
It's probably a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. What was your movements after that then? When were you starting to think, right, I want to get out of here, I want to start looking at getting into the bar world, pub world?
In my early 20s, it weren't really going that great up the city. I started working self-employed up there, so I was a bond trader.
Yeah.
Started going on the screens and trading on stocks and bonds and whatever. And again, I earned enough to sort of get by, but some of my mates were having it off. It weren't working. It was like going to a betting shop every day. You'd have good days and bad days. So I was looking for a way out, and my dream was always to have a bar. So, I used to pester. I've got like an uncle, he's not my uncle, but I call him an Uncle Keith. And he's been in bars and pubs all his life as well. And he had some good contacts. I said, look, I'm looking for a spot.
Yeah.
I want a bar, I can see it, And I think it was 1995. Big corner plot in my high road come up. It was a pub.
Whereabouts?
Loughton.
Loughton, okay.
I went, that's it. That's me. So he put me in touch with him, and my mum lent me the money.
Really?
Quality. Put everything I had into it.
How much she give you, roughly?
I think she lent me $100,000.
Okay, wow.
Back then.
Fair
And I think she remortgaged her house.
Did she?
Because it went over.
Yeah.
We needed more money.
Yeah.
And she believed in me anyway. But I was getting people saying, what are you doing? That's not going to work. There'd been nothing like that in Loughton for many, many years. And opening night, I opened February 2006. I had every local celeb turn up. I had 300 people inside, and I had 300 people outside trying to get in.
Brilliant.
It was like a glass bar. Everyone's banging on the door.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a shit show.
Yeah.
It was far too busy.
Yeah.
I didn't really know what I was doing. Even though I'd grown up in pubs, it was a massive shock. But, we got through it, and it become probably one of the most popular bars in West Essex in recent times. Yeah. So there was...
What was the name of it?
New Bar.
New Bar. Is it still going?
No.
Okay.
No, so I sold that in 2012.
Okay, so you had it a good 6 years.
Yeah, I had it 6 years,
okay.
and it was good. I had England footballers. I had top actors,
What sort of faces did you used to get in there?
John Terry used to come in. I used to get all the West Ham team come in, all the Tottenham team come in, Aaron Lennon times all that. And it was funny.
Do you remember any West Ham faces coming in?
Yeah, I become good friends with them. Teddy Sheringham, I'd go out with Teddy. Yeah, I've known Ted since I was 16.
Yeah.
But, it's surreal. I'm a 25, 26-year-old boy, really.
Yeah.
And I've got Premier League footballers ringing me up saying, we're down the bar tonight, And the back area, it was like a round area. I'd have 5 Tottenham players, 5 West Ham players. Then a couple of Chelsea might come over, text me what the bird's like. Yeah, it's full of them. Yeah, they'd come over, so they'd come from everywhere.
Yeah.
But amongst that, some nights I'd have 10, 15 Premier League footballers in my bar.
Quality.
But then amongst them, I'd have proper gangsters.
Yeah.
So it was, I had my certain bits of trouble there. I kept my finger on the pulse with it. I run it well.
Yeah.
But as soon as I come out in 2012, it just erupted with gangs, bad things.
You had it under control. That's what you had.
Yeah.
What sort of naughtiness did you find in your 20s, mid-20s for that 6-year period that sort of come on top a little bit?
Oh, many things come on top. I'm talking one funny story. It is a bit of a funny story, but when I look back, I look back in horror. There was a guy known. He was rumoured to be a hitman and this and that. He was a known face in the area in East End.
What's his name?
I don't want to say his name.
No, you don't say. Okay. Is he still about today?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
has he been on the podcast?
No,
he might have been.
Yeah, I don't know how to get hold of him now. But it was a glass bar, so you could see outside. And I used to go and stand up in the DJ stand, really to not have the small talk with everyone being drunk all the time. But stand there, and he knocked on the window, and he was with like another guy, but they was in like, the tracksuits that they wear in the 80s films.
Yeah.
I looked, I thought, he can't come in that. It's a terrible look. It was quite a smart bar at the time, full of girls.
Yeah.
So the doorman's looked over. I've said no, and I'm thinking, we might just go away. Well, he's gone mental, screaming and shouting at the doorman. The doorman didn't want to talk to him.
Yeah.
They knew who he was.
Yeah.
I went out there. I said, look, I can't let you both in them tracksuits. It looks terrible. So he had a T-shirt on underneath. He took it off and I went, that's a bit better. But I said, he can't come in. He had like a bit of a jub with him. He went to the jub, you can go. I had to walk him round the back, but I patted him down. And his face, he went to me, you cheeky little,
Yeah.
I went, look, I can't afford for you to have something in there.
Yeah.
You know.
Was he carrying?
No, he didn't.
No, okay.
He might have left it in the car or whatever. But all night I was on edge because I knew the faces.
Yeah.
And you're talking, you open them books, it's their sons or it's their, that person, that nephew.
Yeah.
Big names. I had big black gangsters that, we had Tottenham round the corner.
Yeah.
Big name gangsters. And they was all amongst it together. And I knew certain ones didn't get on with, you're on eggshells.
Yeah, of course. You keep them apart.
Yeah, but it was such a good bar and the atmosphere was so good. The girls there, they didn't want to get barred. They didn't want to have trouble there, thank God.
Yeah.
So it was like their place to come and let their hair down. But it could have gone so wrong on so many occasions.
And it's a fine line owning your own bar because you've got to protect that licence like your life, right?
Yeah.
Was there ever a time when the council or old Bill were on your case?
Do you know what? The licensing officers, I've had a few over the years, always used to joke that they never used to have to turn up because I dealt with it.
Okay, good.
You do it your way.
Yeah.
Which was good. But obviously I did have some bad things. I got arrested there one night.
For?
A big fight happened. The doorman were dealing with it. Another guy come in with his shirt off, threatening my staff. I removed him. In that removal, he was badly hurt.
Yeah.
And the police arrested me. I was in Loughton Station for 24 hours. I got charged with GBH. I was on bail for months for that. Just had my boy as well. And I ended up going to Chelmsford Crown Court with a bag packed. And I was told that I could expect 3 years.
Oh, mate.
So,
what a nuisance.
Do you know the worst thing? The worst thing was that I'd always be quite hot-headed. It was crash, bang, wallop. Yeah. On this occasion, I tried to remove him without whacking him. Yeah. And it went wrong. Yeah. So it probably wouldn't have happened. If I'd done my normal moves, it wouldn't have happened. Yeah. But I ended up getting off. I had to pay for a good lawyer. Yeah. Barrister it was, top barrister. And I got away with it. But I still had to pack that bag and sit there with my wife knowing that
I could be down for 3 years. Oh,
and that changed me a lot.
Yeah, but how old were you then, roughly?
28.
28. What happened that night then? Did you take him out the back? Did the doorman give him a beating, or did you just
the doorman was sorting out, like, stopping two groups going at each other, basically down the side of the bar. And then he ran in, and obviously I've dealt with him. Yeah. But I can't say too much. But in the removal, the guy's arm snapped in two. Yeah. And it was pretty bad. Pretty bad.
Anything on CCTV?
No, but a policeman see it.
And old Bill saw it?
Yeah.
How?
Because they was outside dealing, they was also dealing with the problem. So it was mad.
It's horrible having anything hanging over you like that.
Yeah.
How long did that go on for, from that incident, from that night to the actual, when you went to court?
It was about 18 months. Oh. So going to bed knowing that I've got a kid. I could lose my business. Yeah. I might not see my missus for 2 years or 3 years. What's going to happen when I go inside? How many people that I've had ag with? I had a lot of ag with a lot of people over the years. Are some of them going to be in there or their friends? It was a horrible period of time. But we got through it. I got away with it. I didn't do it. So,
what was the feeling like on those 18 months? Was it sleepless nights? Was it thinking, this is like, I'm going to end up getting a nick, I've got to be strip searched when I go into nick, then I'm whacked in a cell, I might be moved around, I've got my missus, I've got my kid on the thing, losing my business. Your whole world must have come crashing down in that 18 and 18 months as well to wait.
Not knowing. So the CPS kept putting it on, kept extending it, and it was a bit of a nightmare time. And I feel sorry for my wife, really.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Because I worked myself for sort of a year, 18 months. But
what do you mean you worked yourself?
I worked myself. I couldn't relax.
Right, okay, you worked yourself up. Okay,
that was always in the back of my mind.
Did you change in that period, in that 18 months?
Yeah.
Did you become harder to live with? Were you setting your mind up going, I'm going to Nick, I need to sort my mind out. I need to get my mind in a position where if I do get put away, I need to deal with it.
Yeah, it definitely changed me as a person.
Yeah.
It also showed the consequences of certain actions.
Yeah.
You know, even up until that point, yes, I'd had problems and that, but suddenly to be hit with a reality that you're going to prison for 3 years, you're going to have a criminal record, you're going to be away from your family. It's not a nice feeling, and it definitely changed me as a person. Definitely.
What was that feeling like going to the Crown Court? Was it Crown Court?
Yeah, Chelmsford.
Chelmsford, in the court that day, knowing you got your bag packed, that you could be sent away. What was that feeling like when you actually, they said, you're fine, go away?
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was emotional.
Yeah, I bet.
Because I was sat with my wife, you know. Then I had to ring my mum and tell her, look, it's all right, your mum worries.
Yeah.
But, yeah, not good times. And I hope I never end up in that position again.
No, you won't. Not the age you're
No,
at now,
but it takes a lot to wind me up now. One, I don't drink. I haven't drunk for 5 years either.
Is that right?
I wasn't a massive drinker, but I think you can tell I've got a bit of a fuse.
Yeah.
And once that switch is flipped, it's flicked.
Yeah.
I can't really go back.
Yeah.
So with alcohol, it just makes things worse.
Speeds it all up, doesn't it?
Clouds your judgment.
Yeah.
Takes a lot to get me angry now. I mean, still, if I go, I find it hard to come out of it. Normally my wife or someone has to snap me out of it. But alcohol used to just exacerbate any reaction.
Isn't it funny how our wives they're the only ones who can go, oi, stop, what you doing? All of a sudden you're like, you're right.
Yeah.
They sort of speak sense into you, don't they?
Yeah. But no, look, I'm a lot calmer.
How old was that? How old were you then when you got away with it? You got off?
28, 29.
28, 29. Was the boozer still working in that 18 months?
Yeah.
So you're carrying on as normal, as life was normal?
Yeah. I mean, still fronting any problems that I had and whatever, but I was just very mindful of the consequences suddenly.
Yeah.
You know, I think up until that point, I thought I was a little bit untouchable with certain things.
Yeah, okay.
You know.
Did you ever call upon anyone who used to come to your boozer, have your back?
Listen, my mates used to come in. My mate, a lot of my mates met their missus in my bar.
Yeah.
You know, we had a great group, whether that be bankers or, you know, I had a few dodgy friends back then and, you know, local fellas. But yeah, look, we was a group. If there was a problem, I always had people had my back. You know,
nice feeling, eh?
Yeah, look, when you're a bar owner, you almost can have too many friends. Everyone thinks they're your friend.
Yeah.
They're not your friend.
Yeah, of course.
But it's like quite a glamorous job, especially when it's the spot. When it's the place everyone wants to go, everyone wants to be your mate.
Isn't it funny? I had 12 nightclubs for 10 years all around the country.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to be your mate.
Of course.
Get us in. What's there? The queue jump, VIP, where the girls? What? Yeah, I hear you. How many more years was it? Did you have that boozer before you knocked it on the head?
Another 3 years.
Another 3 years.
I sold it in 2012.
What made you, when you got off on that court case, what made you carry on for another 3 years? And in that period, you're like, I don't want to be involved in this bar game anymore. Did it make you?
No, because it was in my blood. It's what I wanted to do, and it was the spot. You know, I was living a good life at the time. I didn't have a house. I used to live above with my wife. I bought a Bentley. I was. You know, I thought I was a bit of a chap. I didn't have a house or anything in the bank, but I bought a Bentley. But no, I was living a good life. You know, and then until you have children and you realise priorities, then you've got to change.
How old were you when you had your first child?
28.
28. So after that, okay.
Yeah. So
did you find you were different when you got off for the next 3 years of owning that boozer, the bar? And was there a point when you go, it's actually coming to an end now, I need to sell it?
No, I thought that for a couple of years.
Okay.
And then my area become very, very violent between 2010 and 2012.
Yeah.
There was a few other bars opening up and whatever the pub. It was quite a violent area. Everyone think, oh, Essex, Loughton, lot of money.
Yeah.
But people were coming from all sorts of areas. Yeah. London, West London, East London, North London. Yeah.
Moving out there.
Yeah, you had that, but you also had people travelling in. Yeah. Because the girls were there. Yeah. That's where all the girls were coming.
Yeah.
It was quite a dangerous place. I mean, it's the same area like Epping Forest Country Club. Do you ever remember that?
Yeah.
I mean, that was notorious for trouble back in the day.
Yeah.
But then areas change. They go through cycles, don't you?
That's right.
And I could feel it. From 2010 to 2012, I could feel that underbelly.
Yeah.
And I was getting to that point where, again, I'd already had been arrested and that, thinking, I'm not sure I can control this as much as I used to.
Yeah.
I've got a bit more fear now. I've got more
responsibilities and stuff. Yeah,
And a couple of things happened, and someone come to me and went, look, blah de blah wants to buy it. He wants to go on Towie or this. I was like, done.
Make me an offer.
But it's that price. I'm not going for any less.
Did you own the freehold?
No,
leasehold.
It was a leasehold, but I sold it for a good amount of money.
Yeah.
It was a stepping stone for me to go.
Can you remember how much on peak at peak weekly what it would turn over?
A bar.
Yeah, that your bar.
I mean,
there.
It should only have held about 150 people, but I used to cram.
Squeeze them in. Vaseline the door frames.
It was crammed. You know, when I look back at pictures and think, oh, how'd I get away with that?
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, it was taking a lot of money.
Good though.
It was a good time.
Good for you.
Yeah, good time.
I can tell by your eyes that you remember good memories from that thing.
Yeah, but again, I had good memories and I had bad memories, but I wouldn't go back and change anything because it makes you who you are.
Isn't it funny that entrepreneurs, you kind of know, you feel an underbelly, you feel things changing, you find a little bit of tension. You're like, do you know what? I might have done my time.
Yeah.
And it takes a good person to realise I need to get out now.
Yeah.
Otherwise, a lot of bars and clubs around the country have just dragged it on, and they can't sell to no one.
No. And when you can feel an area going as well, you know trouble's coming.
Yeah.
You know.
What was the mindset then of before you sold it? Going, okay, if I sold it for that amount of money, I've got my eye on something else that I want to move into.
Yeah, I didn't really have a plan B because it sort of come pretty quickly, this guy. So I had about 6 months where I thought, right, I'm going to have a bit of a step back.
Yeah.
I helped another friend of mine with his bar. He was struggling on a Friday night, so I sort of put my name to his Friday night. Got a bit of wages that way. I filled it up.
Yeah.
And then I got offered a little pub in a neighbouring town, Buckerstill. I thought that'd be perfect for my mum.
For your mum?
Yeah, my mum used to do the sandwiches in my bar, and she's always done my money.
Yeah.
Like I trust my mum to do my bookwork and that, you know. So I thought, oh, that'd be perfect. And I took that in 2013.
So you had a year out?
Yeah,
roughly.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, but I've still got it. It's called the Three Colts. Real good backstreet sort of boozer.
So it's called the Three Colts, and you've had it now for the last 10 years, 11 years.
Yeah, my mum still does the odd shift and my money for me, and it's like her social
What's
life.
Your mum's name?
Barbara.
Barbara, quality.
Yeah, but everyone goes in there to see me mum.
See your mum, you have a chat.
Yeah. It's
How would you explain the difference of being in a bar to a pub?
Well, it was a natural evolution for me because a lot of my friends are my age, so they're in their 30s. So they were starting to they'd met their girlfriends.
Hold on. You're not in your 30s.
No,
you're trying to slip that in, weren't you?
I'm 44 now. 44 in a few weeks, but I was 33 when I took the pub.
Yeah.
10 years ago. But
do you live above the pub or are you separate now?
No.
Keep it
separate. I haven't lived above any places for probably 14 years now. It's good to be away.
Keep it separate, 100%.
You know? But it's a good pub. Do good food, lovely roast, good Friday and Saturday night. You know, my mum works on a Monday night. She calls it the Monday Club. She puts a bit of cheese out. But that's her social
old school,
life.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it is a proper old school.
Love it.
Pub. It's a good pub. And touch wood, I don't get the trouble there. I don't need to be throwing my weight about anymore.
Does it work? Is it a well-oiled machine? Have you got good management in place?
Yeah, I've got a few sort of, I call them managers, but they're sort of senior staff that they all have their different roles. You know?
What's your day-to-day like? What made you go from a pub and then getting yourself on GB News? How did you get on GB News?
Right, so I've been on Twitter since 2008 or 2009. I remember I watched the telly once, the news. I think it was Jonathan Ross or someone like that was talking about this new social platform. They all talk to each other. So I joined it, and immediately I loved it because you could start messaging people that you knew off the telly or you knew in business, and you had no other way of getting to them before. And I loved it. It just grew and grew. And then I started taking pictures of the bar and celebs, videos, uploading it. No one was doing that at the time. No one. Suddenly all the Towie stars started retweeting me, putting my videos, my tweets up.
Brilliant.
I got 100,000 followers, I think in 2012 I had, you know. So it blew up and everyone sort of knew me on there. And then I got a bit political. Then I started taking interest in politics.
Has that always been with you? Or
I've always been interested in the news and having opinions and things, but sort of general elections, Brexit, that fascinated me, Brexit. And what
did you vote in or vote out?
Vote out.
Yeah.
But what I found, I become very passionate when they kept trying to cancel the decision. Oh no, we need a second referendum. And I could see it was like an establishment plot.
Yeah.
Like my vote weren't good enough. Us plebs shouldn't have voted that. And it become like something to like vigorously defend.
Yeah.
And I was on there, I got invited by Nigel Farage to the the Brexit out party, up London.
Nigel Farage, good bloke?
Good bloke.
Good bloke, yeah.
Good bloke. I don't know much about his private life or whatever, but
I'd like to get him on. I like some of the stuff he talks about.
I take people as I find them.
Yeah, same.
And whenever I go to GB News studio, he's always, how are you? How's the family? How are the pubs? Loves a pub.
Yeah.
So he always has time to come over to me and ask me.
Nice.
And I think maybe that showed on I'm a Celeb.
Yeah.
Suddenly people started thinking, hold on a minute, he's all right.
He's all right. That did help him, didn't it?
Yeah.
Mind you, he did get $1.5 million for that.
Yeah.
Fair play to him.
Listen,
I want to know who negotiated his deal. That's a blinder.
Listen, I'll take a lot less than that to go on there now. But do you know what I found? So I spoke to one of the young girls at GB News and I said, you're left leaning. So a lot of like the producers and things or the runners or whatever, they don't have to be right leaning to be on GB News. Yeah. It's a mixture of so many different political opinions. And I said to one of the young sort of girls there, she's early 20s, I said, why do you talk to Nigel? Do you like him? Like, I know your politics. She went, I was sort of taught to hate Nigel Farage. I was told by the media that I really shouldn't like him. He's not a good person. And, so she said, I was dreading the day that he came to GB News and I had to work with him. She went, I love him.
Yeah.
He's such a nice guy. But so that's pretty indicative, I think, of how that journey went with
warp your mind.
I'm a Celeb. Yeah. Suddenly people are going, I hate Nigel Farage. He's this, he's that.
Yeah.
They watched it and think,
he's all right.
He's all right.
Yeah.
And I think it's done him a massive favour. Yeah. And I hope that shows people out there. You can't just judge people by what others say. Because people are being taught, hate Nigel Farage, hate that person. Adam Brooks, he says this on Twitter. Yeah. He's this, he's that. Yeah, if you meet me or you realise we're not what they say. Yeah. So I think I'm a Celeb has opened it up now for more people on the right.
If I'm a celebrity, come to you and invited you on to go on it, would you say yes or no?
I would. A few years ago, I would have said no chance. It's not for me. But I think I would. There,
Quality.
Now I've heard he's got $1.5 million. I know I wouldn't get that.
I'll take a quarter of that.
Yeah, no. I just think when you get someone like me gets labelled so many things online.
How do you deal with that? You're quite a strong, but you're thick-skinned as well.
I
right?
laugh at most of it because it's hysterical.
How do you get riled at all? Do you know when someone? Do you know when you talk about people whacking up posts and everyone's giving you the nice comment and it takes that one horrible comment that can stick in your mind? Are you cool with that? Are you like, do you fight back or do you just ignore?
I do fight back a lot of the time, but a lot of the time I just laugh. Okay. Sometimes I might even quote retweet and say, "Look at this idiot," or "Look what I'm dealing with today." But I've been on there so long and I've been so vocal. There's not a lot you can say to me. I've got groups that target me. Like they're all faceless accounts. It's either one person or it's an organisation try and shut you up. But they call me all sorts. But, even my wife goes like, oh, I was reading your Twitter today that they called you that. Listen, I laugh.
How does your wife deal with it when she reads stuff?
She's not political. She doesn't like Twitter. She doesn't really like social media. Yeah. She's in her own bubble.
Keeps herself to herself. Yeah. With the kids, nice family.
We've had the odd discussion about certain things and that, but she just doesn't.
Would she ever say anything to pipe you down and go, whoa, hold on a minute, don't. Do you sign things off of her? Like some things, so, do you reckon that's all right to write? Or not?
Not really.
Is there anything you've got here? Do you reckon that's all right? Or not
that I can recall.
No, okay. So you just crack on.
She's turned around and said, Cole, that was a bit strong, or, you're just riling people up by saying it. Look, if I'm in a mischievous mood, sometimes I might throw a little bomb on Twitter.
Yeah, see what happens.
Log off. And 5 hours later, just see the absolute meltdown that people, sometimes are quite, I like doing that. But look, so coming back to Twitter, where it exploded Brexit,
Yeah.
COVID. I was very, very outspoken against government restrictions. Worked with some groups. We fought back. Sasha Lord from Manchester.
Yeah.
Good friend of mine.
Yeah. Park Life Festival.
Yeah, he's
Warehouse
massive.
Project.
Yeah. So he's a big name in hospitality.
Yeah.
I become sort of like the southern voice, unofficial voice of hospitality, fighting back against all the restrictions and lockdowns. We teamed up. He took the government to court. I forget what it was that he stopped. I think it was the Scotch egg rule. Like nuttiness back then,
stupid, wasn't it? But you couldn't order a pint without ordering a Scotch egg or something.
It was ridiculous. And it's all coming out that they didn't have no evidence on this and that. They was making up as they went along. And the WhatsApp messages show the MP's sort of frame of mind. They knew what they was doing. It was theatre. It's to try and put us back in our box, control us and all like that. But I think I got another 100,000 followers during COVID. Yeah. And I would, Julia Hart-Brewer would invite me on her show on Talk. Yeah. I would do BBC interviews about COVID and hospitality. And then GB News, Dan Wootton messaged me and said, I need you on my show.
Is that right?
Yeah, and I went, no, TV's not for me. Yeah. I used to like the radio phone-ins because I'd really give it some, but no one was looking at me. Yeah. And I went, I don't know. And he went, look, just sort of fill in one night because we haven't got a guest. Like, I think it was a couple of days time. I went, go on. I was so nervous. Yeah. But I went.
Was it live?
Yeah, it's live. Yeah. And like we sort of come in and out for 2 hours. I'm on the settee, then I'm in the green room. I come out, and they tell you sort of the topics of the day, and you've got to have your opinion. Well, Dan knew my opinions on most things, so he knew I wouldn't hold back. And I went home and I went to my missus. How was that? She went, that was really good,
Oh, quality.
And I must have watched the show 2 or 3 times, so about 3 a.m.
Yeah. And
Dan messaged me the next day. He went, the viewers liked it. I liked it. Come on the panel, do you want to do it? And I haven't looked back. It's been about 2.5 years now.
Quality.
So again, like GB News, people throw insults at GB News. It's this, it's that. We just offer a different platform, a different opinion. Yeah. So, if we're talking about the trans issue, the host and me might have an opinion, but then they'll have someone else that is for women, trans women going into women's toilet. There's always a balance. Okay. And the mainstream media don't like that. So, we get attacked a lot. Political stuff as well. I'm sat on a settee. I've got a lefty next to me, and I've got a righty next to me.
How would you explain to the listener what a lefty is in your view and what a righty is?
Well, sort of conservative values, how can I say? I mean, a lot of left politics is for the government controlling you. It's mad how it's gone. Yeah. They just sort of want to roll over and let people dictate their lives. I think a lot of conservatives are, entrepreneurs. We want to kick on. We want to do it. We want to be our own person going forward and create our own futures and have freedom to do that. But I mean, it all sort of come to a head really with politics when Jeremy Corbyn stepped into the frame. And for me, that was a very scary time. Yeah. Suddenly we was looking at maybe socialism coming to, anti-entrepreneurs, anti-business really. And then, I've got children. I'm starting to think, well, am I going to be able to leave my house to my kids? Everything I do in my life is thinking about my kids, right, okay, they're going to get the house or I want to leave them something so their life is easier. And when Jeremy Corbyn sort of come to really scared that
you were scared.
Our future was like,
in his hands.
Yeah. Like wasn't going to support businesses. Was going to tax you to the hilt, take your house off you, inheritance tax, and so that really got me sort of interested in talking about politics online. And I think Twitter now, I don't buy a newspaper really. I get my news. I'll go on The Guardian, I'll go on the Daily Mail, I'll go on the Mirror, I'll go on the Telegraph. And I'm reading the same news, but different slants. Yeah. And then it's for me to work out where I sit with that.
Yeah, okay.
I like to do that, So my wife sometimes she'd go, you're on that Twitter hours. I go, yeah, but your dad sits with his cup of tea and his newspaper for an hour. You don't say anything to him.
Yeah.
I'm reading news. It's not just a messaging app. It's a lot of things. And I think since Elon Musk bought it, it's just evolving. And you've got Twitter Spaces.
Yeah.
I sit up sometimes and I listen to Twitter Spaces.
Is Twitter Space any good?
I like it.
Did you ever go on Clubhouse?
No.
No, like where people can just actually talk. That's Twitter Spaces, right?
Yeah, so Twitter Spaces. So, like, you know, recently we go into the boxing after.
Yeah.
I go in boxing spaces and I'm listening to different people's opinions on that. But sometimes I go into political ones, or, you know, I want to learn about what's, you know, this Gaza Israel thing. Don't want to go into that really now, but I want to try and understand it more. And you'd have people from Israel on these Twitter Spaces, people from Gaza on there, and I'm trying to listen and understand why do they feel like that?
Yeah.
Why are they so passionate? And I think Twitter's evolved, and suddenly you're going to get a lot more videos, a lot more. You're going to actually get programs that are going to be streamed on Twitter. It's getting huge. So I'm pleased I've got that big following I have now.
Yeah. Are there other socials? Because Twitter ain't my bag.
Right.
I'm more LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok.
I'm on Instagram. Yeah. A lot of it is sort of
just your family,
boxing stuff and whatever. You know.
Do you not think Twitter can be like, oh, it's a certain time? Or do you think it?
Listen, it's very toxic.
Yeah, okay. That's why I don't want to go near it.
Very, very toxic. But it gives you the opportunity to listen to different viewpoints or read different viewpoints as well,
and comment and create threads. And
you know. I've interacted with celebs and that I would never meet in a million years.
Yeah.
You know, during COVID, I had former England footballers, I ain't going to name them, that we're back and forth talking. I'm thinking, you was my hero.
Yeah, as a kid, growing up.
In the 1990 World Cup. And I'm like, I can't believe I'm talking to you about Brexit. Or it's a mad world.
Yeah.
It's a mad world.
Where did the boxing get involved? When did the boxing get involved?
Right, so...
This is the boxing Misfits
I'm a Misfits fighter.
Yeah. Explain to the listeners what a Misfits fighter is.
A Misfits fighter. So KSI, for people that don't know, KSI is one of the biggest YouTube names there is in the world.
Yeah.
I think he's got tens of millions of followers. Yeah. You know, he's evolved. He's many things, a musician, but he's known for YouTube.
And a good fighter, to be fair to him, isn't he?
So him and a few others set up something called Misfits. And it's influencers, celebs, different figures. Basically, it's like a boxing sort of league, sort of competition, really. And I took my son to a KSI fight a couple of years, 18 months ago, at Wembley Arena, and you've never seen anything like it. It's like 15, 20,000 people screaming for KSI.
As a YouTuber?
Yeah. And my boy went, Dad, could you get on this? I was like, because we were doing a bit of boxing at the time, I took him to the boxing club. I said, I'll message him, but I doubt it. And sort of a year later or so, November, I had a Misfits fight against Rhino, the former gladiator.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a tough man.
Yeah.
He'd had 5 fights, 5 knockouts, a bit older than me, but he was like a piece of granite.
Yeah.
And I hurt my hand on his body when I hit him. But I knocked him out in the second round.
You knocked him out with an uppercut, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Good uppercut.
Yeah.
What was that feeling like knowing you're going in there? What was your training like? Were you training like a professional boxer? Were you switched on to go everything out my way?
I was training as much as I could like a professional boxer.
Okay.
We'd go to a local boxing club, me and my boy. And I was training anyway, but I had to step it up. And I've got a gym at home. I turn my garage into a gym. But living with 3 kids, got 2 dogs that need walking, and my wife and business and doing the GB news. I was trying to fit my training. So I was training probably 8 or 9 times a week, sometimes twice in a day.
Nutrition, how's the food? Bang on?
Yeah, as much as I can. Like, again, the lifestyle of trying to fit things in, sometimes you have the odd slip up. But it's really a midlife crisis. I had 2 fights in my 20s with like 6 months training. I was never allowed. My dad was a big boxer out the East End.
Yeah.
I was never allowed to do it. When I was getting in a little bit of trouble, teens, early 20s, I had 2 fights. Got strung up really, mismatches. I fought a traveller from Ireland, got beat. Fought another guy that had 20 amateur fights. I basically got bashed up in the 2 unlicensed fights that I had in my 20s, and I gave up. I thought, that ain't for me. And then 20 years later, I wanted to learn it. It's a boyhood dream of mine.
Was it a part of you going, I want to do it for my boy, but I also want to do it for my old man and carry the name on as a fighter?
My first fight come back was September. I did a fundraiser for a little guy, Isla, that died. Brain cancer. And I've been introduced by her parents on Twitter, funny enough. And I did fundraising to try and help her get her last wishes. They brought her to the pub. My little girl played with her. There was a connection there, you know. And I hadn't really ever met a little girl that was dying. And it upset me a lot. Again, I'll say meeting Isla changed me a lot, because it suddenly brought some real bad, it's like bad energy of life. This is what's happening to children. And there's no research really into this. So I said, look, I'm going to do a fundraiser. And I picked an opponent to have a charity bout at York Hall. And a guy called Bash Fakuri. He's quite big on Instagram.
I know Bash.
Yeah.
He's coming on here next week.
Is he?
Yeah.
That's mad. That is mad. So I'd see Bash, and
were you mates with Bash before you fought him?
So I messaged him on direct message.
Yeah.
I see, because he'd been in the Daily Mail for biting a guy's ear off.
Yeah.
I thought, I need to get this out here.
Yeah.
You know, I need to make it like so people want to sponsor me.
Yeah.
And whatever. So I found this guy. One of my trainers went,
oof.
Like, because he was, I think, former K1 champ.
Yeah.
Which is.
But now he does unlicensed fighting, but no rules.
Yeah.
Zero rules.
Yeah. So he travels to like Germany.
Yeah.
And fights in an underpass.
Yeah.
You know,
don't get to meet who you're fighting. Go in there.
Like he don't mind me saying this, because he's nuts.
Yeah.
He's bonkers. Game as a Bible.
Yeah.
And I messaged him. I said, look, I can get you this for this fight. It's with gloves. You're cool. Be a good bit of coverage, but it's for fundraising. Yeah. And he's like, I'm all over it.
Yeah.
So put him in touch. And it was quite good nature. We was having a bit of banter sort of on Instagram to try and hype the fight up. But I did say to him, look, I'm on GB News. I'm not going to start screaming and shouting and swearing at you. That's not me. So he'd sort of try and mug me off most days, saying, what are you doing? You're a newsreader. You're coming against someone that fights every week and all like that. I'm like, listen, I can handle myself. Don't worry about me. And then the night, he weighed in that day at York Hall, and he purposely come in 2.5 kilograms over. So they turned around to me and went, do you want to call it off? I went, how can I call it off? I raised 42 grand for this charity. And the whole thing really was the boxing bout. I had all the tickets sold. I went, I can't call it off. And he hadn't drunk or eaten for 24 hours to get to the... So I was basically fighting someone a stone heavier later that day. And it was still all right, but when they put us together in the ring with a ref, he sort of leant into me, put his head into mine, I'm going to bite you and all that. I flipped, I headbutted him.
Did you?
Yeah. So
is this on camera? Is this?
Yeah. It was a bit of a footballer's headbutt, but I've headbutted him and he's gone mental. But he didn't think that was coming back from me. He kept calling me the newsreader. Yeah. But he didn't really know my past, that like I can fight. And I knocked him out. Well, knocked him down. He was counted out within the first minute. I came there to box, and he turned that switch in my head by turning it violent. And the rest is history. But I uploaded on TikTok. I've got a TikTok account. My boy was like, you're not going on TikTok. You're not doing that. You're going to embarrass me. I said, no, it's just going to be my GB News stuff. Yeah. I think I've got about 35,000 followers or something. And maybe the boxing stuff. He's like, all right, Dad, don't mug me off. I ain't going to.
Is that your boy? Don't mug me off.
So I was like, all right.
What's your boy's name?
Artie.
Quality.
So, I uploaded the clip of the headbutt thing. And I think it got 1 million views, I think. It went crazy. Look, it is a proper midlife crisis. I've got certain...
A midlife crisis fighting is okay. A midlife crisis, go and get all in one tight suit and go cycling everywhere. That's a midlife crisis.
I don't like that. I've got friends that do the cycling.
I can't go anywhere near that.
And on the roads, I can't stand cyclists. Yeah. They really get on my nerves. There are certain types. And I've got some really close friends that do it, all in that lycra and that. You look ridiculous.
Ridiculous, isn't it?
That's not a bit of me at all. And they go and like cycle 50, 60 miles and that. I don't even like driving here today was a big thing for me. Yeah. I don't like driving that sort of amount of time. But
what was the movement after that fight then? Did that give you the confidence going, you know what, I want another piece of that. I like the buzz.
Yeah, so I've been talking to a guy called Mams Taylor, big figure. You know, he's KSI's manager. He's a big sort of name. And he co-owns Misfits with KSI and another. And
who else? Is it Jake Paul involved?
No. That's like the opposing. That's the American. So KSI and Jake Paul hate each other. Yeah. They will eventually fight, but they're doing their own things at the minute. But that is like the pinnacle of what I say, influencer crossover boxing. Them two, it'll be watched by 10 million.
Who do you think would win, KSI or Jake Paul?
I think KSI, but he's my boss.
Yeah,
we're Misfits. I'm going to say that. But
genuinely,
it'll be a good fight.
Yeah.
KSI mixes it with pros, and it's all right. People taking the mickey out of his style and doing the old arm flaps and all that. He went the distance with Tommy Fury, who's a professional boxer who's fought his whole life. Yeah. He might not be the best professional boxer, but he's a professional boxer. You know, for KSI, and a lot of people think, I thought it was a draw on the night.
Yeah, same.
I really did. But
was there nothing in the contract that there was a rematch or not?
I don't know. I haven't spoke to him about it. I mean, if they boxed again, it could go either way. Yeah. So that's a credit to, look, I will give credit to Jake Paul and KSI. These were YouTubers. They hadn't really boxed. Suddenly they can get in. Jake Paul's got in with other pros. They're getting in with pro boxers. Yeah. And I don't think people understand how hard boxing is, how hard it is to get good at boxing. You know.
And boxing fit, match fit, fight fit. Different.
Like for me, I don't know how pros do 12 3-minute rounds. Yeah. It amazes me.
What were your rounds? 3 minute, 3 rounds.
So the charity one was 2 minutes. It was meant to be 2 minutes, but it didn't last one with Bash. And against Rhino, it was 3 threes.
3, okay.
But the difference between 2 minutes and 3 minutes in boxing rounds is a totally different sport, really. You come out, crash, bang, wallop. It don't matter how fit you are, you're blowing after that first round. And to be fair, against Rhino, it was a pretty intense first round. I stopped him in mid second round.
Was he winning first round? Or
yeah.
He was.
Yeah, so there were some big names sort of commentating. Have you ever heard of True Geordie?
True Geordie, yeah.
He was one of the, it was on DAZN or DAZN. Yeah, it was a big thing.
Yeah, okay.
You know, my fight's been watched probably by 1 million people around the world, since. Big thing, a lot of pressure.
And where was it? So that fight you had against Rhino, was it at your call?
That was your call as well. So it was a London show. But I mean, there's some big shows coming up, I think, like Wembley Arenas and that. And I'm on the roster. I haven't had the call yet, but I've just started training 2 weeks ago. So I could get a call at any moment, say, look, 6 weeks' time, you're fighting here. You know.
Paid?
Paid. So
worthwhile money?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, against Rhino, I won't say the money, but I didn't realise there was a knockout bonus. It's sponsored by Prime. You know, Prime, the drink everyone goes mad about. Yeah. So,
have you tried it?
Yeah, I've got cases of it at doors because, like, Misfits send me it.
Do you like it? Do you like Prime?
Yeah, listen, I can drink it. Yeah,
paying you.
Yeah, I love it.
I love it.
I love Prime.
Prime, so do I. If you want to get involved with the podcast, Prime.
But yeah, so I got told on the night, they went, you might win the Prime bonus, you know. I went, what do you mean Prime bonus? They went, there's a knockout bonus on the night. And they went, yours has got to be the best. I was like, well, hopefully, we'll see. I didn't really think, I was still on cloud 9. Yeah. I got home that night, I was watching the video of the fight till 4 a.m, you know, I was buzzing. Next day, speak to them, and they said, you've won the Prime bonus. Well, I've just took my family on holiday to a nice place with my Prime bonus. So thank you, Prime.
Days.
That was lovely.
Happy days.
So
what were we talking? 5 grand, 10 grand?
No, it was more than that.
More than 10?
Yeah, it was more. The prize was a decent prize. I don't want to say, but it was a good prize.
Happy days.
And suddenly my wife is a little bit more on board with the boxing since that. But I've just said now, like I've said to Misfits, like I'm just coming for them bonuses every time. I'm just going to come out swinging. I said, stick me with anyone.
Yeah.
I said, I might get outboxed. I might start blowing. But I've got a
chance and a right hander.
So it's really.
What was your training like before that Misfits one? Because the Misfits, you had your charity one, which was lovely.
Yeah.
It gave you the taste of it.
No, I stepped it up.
You stepped it up.
Suddenly you're getting paid.
Yeah.
I'm up there. So many people hate me online, these lefties, and that I know if I get knocked out, which is probably going to happen at some point. You know, I'm going to start fighting a 20-somethings and a 30-something.
Yeah.
At the last show in Leeds 2 weeks ago or a week or so ago, there was like 6 knockouts, I think, in the whole. So, and they were big knockouts.
Yeah.
So it's going to happen. The standard's getting better and better. So I know I'm going to end up being a meme or whatever at some point. But
who cares?
Who cares? Look, if anyone takes the mickey out of me, and listen, I've got friends that go to me, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I go, look, I enjoy it. I'm fit. I'm getting paid for it now. That weren't the initial thing. Obviously, I did it for charity.
Yeah.
One thing I will say is my last fight against Rhino, I had Knives Down written on all my corner T-shirts and any tweets I was putting out. I was doing interviews. I've got obviously what happened to my dad. He was stabbed to death. Yeah. I've got a 14-year-old boy, Artie. Knife crime. Yeah. We've seen it in the last few days. I think Bristol, 2 teenagers have just been killed. Yeah. It's an epidemic.
It's everywhere.
And it's everywhere. And it's not just, look, do I think by me having Knives Down and me doing interviews, me mentioning this and people listening, that I'm going to change a gangster's mind or a young kid in a gang? No, they're not going to put it down because Adam Brooks said it.
But it's helping.
But one thing I will say is that, like my son and his mates, at some point, they're probably, like, you know, a few of them might have thought, oh, should we carry that knife around? Nice kids are carrying knives. Because they don't realise the consequences. So they need to be told a few hard truths. You know, I've told my son now. It was only last year that I told him about my dad and the manner in which it happened.
How did your boy Artie react when you told him about his granddad?
He'd give me a cuddle. I think he maybe in his mind probably understood why I act certain ways. Yeah. He was quite upset about it. And I think he spoke to my mum. He felt sorry for his nan. You know, but I think sometimes they need to know the consequences of what can happen with knives, you know. So it wasn't just my dad's life that was lost. I've spent probably, 30 years of my life every day thinking about it. Sort of ruined my life for the rest of it. It ruined, the people that did it never end up in prison for it. But,
do you know who did it, who killed your dad?
Yeah, I don't really want to talk about it. No, I don't know. But, okay. But no
you do know.
No one ever went away with it. And I suppose as a youngster, you want retribution, you want all that. That's not me. I'd rather stick it in their faces as being a happy, successful guy.
Yeah, good for you.
Now, the fact that I went into pubs and bars and I'm online, we didn't go anywhere. We didn't shy away. Yeah. And I say that to my son. There's no trying to be a big man, trying to be, I'm this, I'm that. It's not going to get you anywhere in life. You're going to get hurt. You're going to go into prison. But I think by talking to my son and his mates and that about knife crime, maybe they'll talk to other boys, or maybe one of them might think twice. Yeah. Think, you know what? So even if that's happened, I've done my job there. So the gang stuff, people like me are not going to change it. Yeah. But I think talking about the consequences. Normal kids, I carried a knife. I'm ashamed that I carried a knife during certain parts of my life because I knew I was being targeted. Yeah.
But that's the problem.
Yeah.
You think you're getting targeted, so you're going to carry just in case. Yeah. You don't want to use it, but when the instant something happens, you're going to go, bop, and then you're going to get nicked. Then you're going to get 30 years, and you're going to sit behind a door for...
Was I a gangster? No, I wasn't. No. But I carried a knife. And again, I'm ashamed of it. Especially...
Well done. Well done. I've been straight for admitting it as well.
Especially because of what happened to my dad. Yeah. For me to turn around and say, I've carried a knife. Yeah. But I'm trying people to understand that. But one of the reasons as well I don't drink is because I always want to be in control of myself. Yeah. And what I try and explain to the young kids or whoever I'm talking to about knives, you might have that knife in your pocket with no intention of using it or even pulling it out. It's there for an emergency. If you've had a drink, or some of these kids, I've never done drugs myself, but kids that are on drugs, you lose that process of thought. Yep. You could end up stabbing someone and ruin your life as well. But also your family's life. Everyone's life. The knock-on effect is huge. So, these kids, these nice kids that are carrying knives around, they get drunk, they get high or whatever. Certain situations, they could end up killing someone or getting arrested because they've made a bad judgment. We need to stop that. Agree. But I mean, the one thing we've got to stop is the kids going out with fear. a lot of the time I was putting myself in that situation with the clubs, the bars, being an idiot as a teenager, you know, wanting trouble with doormen or gangsters. So I brought a lot of heat on myself at that time. But nice kids going out, I worry about him going down the high road, you know, and kids mugging him for his coat.
It's happening down here. It's happening down in Bournemouth.
Yeah, it's not just a London thing.
It's not just a London thing.
Or a city thing.
Yeah, it's happening down in all these little suburbs everywhere. People are now moving out of Bournemouth, going into the countryside to get away from it all.
Yeah, but it's
crazy.
It's endemic, you know.
Tell me about that fight. That fight. What was that feeling like when you knocked out Reiner that night in front of your own crowd?
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I still watched. I watched the fight or the knockout every few days, you know, because I feel like it's quite a big achievement for a 43-year-old. I know he was older than that, but on a big stage to do that, and no one expected me to beat him, and all the work that you put in to suddenly doing that. You know, I never thought I was a knockout merchant. Suddenly I've knocked two people out that can fight.
Yeah.
And that were bigger than me on the night. So it's given me quite a lot of self-confidence.
Yeah.
And again, I keep saying to Misfits, stick me in with a 20-something or a 30-something. I know they're better than me, or I might come unstuck.
Just want to see.
I need to know where I am.
And the pecking order.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know, listen, I might get hit, but if I catch him clean once, I've got a puncher's chance. You know, it's something I've dreamed of as a kid, and suddenly I'm living it in my 40s.
That's quality.
Which is mad.
Yeah, mate. Love it. What's that feeling like when you woke up the next morning? Because you know when you're buzzing off something, when something's mad at and you're on it all night, you get to bed at 3, 4 in the morning because you're buzzing. You wake up and the reality is I just won a massive fight last night.
Yeah.
I knocked out Rhino. It was a lump.
I could never have envisaged it going that way either. So I was on cloud 9 for like a week.
Yeah, I bet.
You know, I was walking around like Conor McGregor, the old swagger, you know. But again, I'm very real, and I know, look, I'm not a boxer, but I've put in the work to try and be the best boxer I can be. So if I get beat or end up a meme getting knocked out, so be it. You know, there's a lot of people that want to see that. But it's character building. And again, when I won the charity fight, it weren't just for Isla. I had Dad on my shorts. I looked up. Not that I believe in religion or anything like that, but I felt
energy from the old man looking down.
Yeah, I started crying.
Yeah, I bet.
When my arm was raised, I started crying.
I bet.
Because it's decades of emotions that you've held in, and that night a lot of demons went, you know. So
powerful stuff,
last year was a big year
year
for me, and boxing was my channel to change my life.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how they're saying I could fight once, twice this year. We'll see how it goes.
Are you game? Someone phoned you today and said, "Well, 4 weeks time you've got to fight. You've got to be on stage. You're getting paid that amount." And
Listen, I drive Mams Taylor KSI mad. Just stick me on. You know, I don't care who it is, just because I just want to fight.
Yeah.
And again, I don't want people to think, oh, he thinks he's a right tough. I don't.
No.
I enjoy it.
Yeah.
You know, and I know again at some point I'm going to come unstuck, but.
Are you okay that feeling that one day you're going to come unstuck?
Yeah.
Have you dealt with it in your head? Going, that's good. If I get banged out, I get banged out, but I gave it a go.
And going to these shows since and seeing people, how they react differently to being knocked out. In Leeds, there's one guy, Spartan J. He's a calisthenics champion. Little, muscly, unbelievable body. He was the favourite against a guy called Fox the G. And I know all these, they're like characters. I know all these people now. And Spartan J got knocked spark out. He was cold. They had oxygen on him, and within an hour or two, I see him round the back of the bars, laughing and joking with people. Look, that's boxing. That happens. Yet another guy, Ed Matthews, very big on TikTok, huge. He got knocked through the ropes. Ended up on the judges.
I saw that on the judges thing. Yeah.
And I'll tell you a story. I was meant to fight him in September on the Prime card. Like I was the backup, and I got called up. So I had a bit of an interest in him. He's very leery. He was a bit rude to me in Manchester as well.
Is he a Northerner, Londoner?
No, he's a Londoner. No, he's Essex, but he's very sure of himself. Young. Listen, he's young. He learned, but he was a bit rude to me in Manchester. And when he got knocked through the ropes, I was laughing, jumping up and down because it was funny, you know. But where am I going with this?
The fight up north, what was it like up there?
Yeah, no. So
Up in Leeds.
he got knocked out. Yeah. So he got knocked out. And the other guy, Spartan J, was really sort of humble. That's boxing. I'll come back. I'll avenge it. I'll do this. He stormed off. He didn't even come back into the ring, like, you know, and I thought, oh, that's, you know, and people were talking about it. What a bad loser and all like that. I know I'm going to be humble. If it happens to me.
When I see proper faces boxers afterwards, the best man won. I'll be back next time. I think respect. You gain more respect by being humble, I think, than getting aggy afterwards.
I just think you mug yourself off. Because it is a sport where you can get knocked out. You will lose at some point.
How's your profile gone since the fight? Like if you go up to the boxing there, do people recognise you?
Yeah. So I went to a Misfits in Leeds, and people were having pictures with it. It's crazy, you know. But more so, I was walking around Leeds, and older people going, GB knows. But it's always like 60 plus. Yeah. You know, when it does happen, it don't happen a lot. I'm not saying I'm famous and everyone comes up. They don't. But when it does happen, it's normally older people in their 60s and go, keep saying what you're saying on GB News.
Quality.
You know? So, like, it's a bit of a mad life that I've got at the moment.
Have you had any dealings with Barry and Eddie Hearn?
I know Eddie.
You know Eddie?
Me and Eddie are friends.
Okay.
We have been same sort of group of friends since we were 16.
Did you go to Brentwood School?
No.
Okay.
No. But my friend's his best mate.
Okay, I'm good mates with Barry, his old man.
Right, yeah. I know Barry.
He's quality, isn't he?
Yeah. I've been to a few parties at Eddie's house, and he's quality.
Yeah.
But Eddie's just kicked on. He's done unbelievable.
He's unbelievable what he's done, isn't he?
He's took boxing to the next level.
Yeah, completely.
And do you know what? I'm pleased. A lot of, you know, sometimes you feel like some people live in their father's shadow. He got a good start.
Yeah.
He's took it to a new level.
Do you know what I loved him? Do you know what I loved him the other day? Eddie goes, someone says, everyone calls me Silver Spoon, but do you know what? I turned that silver spoon into a gold spoon.
Yeah.
I thought, what a one-liner.
Yeah.
Because it must be hard, you know, when you've got an old man who's the biggest sports promoter, independent in the world, all the sports, bam, 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 coming through, people go, you've been had it easy. Yeah. But actually, he's grabbed it, and he's a proper grafter.
Yeah.
There's no one grafts harder. You know, and he's taking it to the next level completely.
He's the biggest boxing promoter
in the world. Yeah. And he's a Londoner. Love it.
Listen, and we used to all go Faces nightclub when we were six underage, but between 16 and 20, it was all together, all different groups. He's just kicked on. And look, respect. He's a very intelligent man. Yeah. To be able to do that and deal with the certain people he deals with in that scene.
Sharp.
Fair play.
Very sharp, isn't he?
There's nothing about boxing he doesn't know.
What about IFL TV? Have you been on?
I know Coogan.
You know Coogan?
Know Coogan well.
Yeah.
I've known him many years. So I remember Coogan when he first started off.
Well, he started off in like 2010 or something, wasn't it?
Right. So Eddie, this is mad. So Eddie, sometime, I think it might have been one or two, but they had a weigh-in at my bar, the new bar in Loughton. He went, can I use your bar for a weigh-in? I went, yeah, of course you can. And Coogan was there, and I met Coogan, and I did an interview with Coogan. And then to see what they both become, really, Coogan's kicked on.
Mate, he's had copious amounts of views on YouTube. What he's done on YouTube has been phenomenal.
Well, he was the pioneer, really.
Are they co-partner? He's got a partner, isn't he?
I don't know. I only know Coogan, really, with that. But Eddie basically brought him in, didn't he? And again, give him a leg up. But Coogan took it to the next level. Yeah. All these sort of vloggers, the boxing, they're trying to copy Coogan's model.
Agree.
And maybe he's catching up a little bit, but he's had the best years of it.
He has, hasn't he? Do you know what I love? I love the Coogan-Eddie combo.
Yeah.
They got this certain vibe, haven't they? Who's that young kid coming through on TikTok is with Eddie? Parsons.
I know him all. Yeah, so now, like,
how old's he then? He's a young lad coming. He's quite cheeky and chirpy.
I know Parsons. I know him all the IFL TV boys, Joe Pugh, because they cover Misfits.
Yeah, okay.
So I've been doing interviews with them on Misfits, and they put suddenly there's Adam Brooks talking Misfits, and then there's like Nigel Benn talking, his fight of the weekend. You go down, and suddenly you're on there. It's a bit surreal, but Misfits has transcended now. People see it as entertainment. So you've got your pro fights, which is, I think pro boxing got very boring.
Yeah, it did.
Over the last decade. Too political, very boring. Suddenly Misfits come along, and some of the ideas that the pro shows are now toying with
have come from
influencer boxing
and
and Misfits. And, some of the shows I've been with, you've had Tommy Fury ringside before he fought.
Yeah.
You've had some big names, big name boxers ringside. Eddie Hearn's been at a couple of the Misfits shows.
How many of those boys though were anti it when it first came about, going YouTubers, load of old bollocks,
Loads of them.
And now they're actually going, you know what? They're pulling in massive numbers.
So influencer boxing,
pay-per-view, like massive.
My son would never say, "Dad, take me to the boxing at York Hall."
Yeah.
Never. But he would say, "Dad, take me Misfits."
Yeah.
And that's, you've probably got 10-year-olds up to 20-year-olds that will only watch Misfits Boxing. And that's filled gyms up and down the country with young kids that think they can be boxers.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Because again, it's good for the sport, but it's good to get these kids off the street. So you can attack influencer boxing all you like, and I'll get attacked for it. Silly old man, what you doing in this? And okay, maybe I am too old for it, but it's enjoyable, and the viewing figures that they're getting on that DAZN or DAZN are huge.
Yeah.
So there's a market for it.
Yeah.
I sort of liken it to, remember growing up, you had WWF or WWE,
right. Yeah.
the characters. It's sort of like a hybrid version of that and boxing, really.
I think it's fantastic for the sport.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And look,
it brings a whole different demographic.
Yeah.
It brings all the kids on YouTube instead of playing all the games.
But do you know what makes me laugh? Suddenly I flick through Instagram or whatever, or TikTok, and I see that celeb started training. I know what they're up to.
Yeah.
They're
waiting, aren't they, for the pound note?
They want to try and get on Misfit.
Yeah.
And the amount of celebs that have messaged me saying, "How did you get on there?" I go, "Well, I drove them mad for a year." Yeah. You ain't just getting on there now. I'm on there now, It's but some big names. There's some big names trying to get on it.
Like who?
You got Joey Essex.
It's Joey Essex.
Joey Essex, bless him, and I like him a lot.
Yeah.
I've seen him grow up from the bars. He put out there he wanted to fight KSI.
Is that right?
And a few people did have to just say, "Listen, calm down a bit."
Yeah.
Like KSI's fighting pro boxers,
yeah.
But you're going to see Joey Essex on Misfits this year, and there's some other big names that I can't really talk about. But it is getting more coverage and it's growing.
Moving forwards for you, what's 2024 look like for you?
I don't know. So obviously you do events. You've got festivals. I do like a quarterly over 30s night. I do. So New Bar that I've spoke about, I do like a reunion thing. So I call it New Do.
Quality.
You talked about your friends earlier, True Do's.
Yeah.
I've got New Do's,
Brilliant.
And
do you know Tony Truman?
yeah, I know him.
Yeah. Good lad, Tony.
Yeah. And
he's been going throwing parties 30 odd years, 40 years I think now. He's coming
proper
up to
legend of the game.
Yeah, he is.
To still
He's
be
been
in
on.
it.
He's been on a podcast.
As a
good lad.
Yeah, no.
Stories.
Yeah.
So you've gone for the New Do.
New Do,
Quality.
yeah, and it's an over 30s thing. So I've been doing it a few years, two and a half years, and it's just a local nightclub, and I put 400, 500, 600 people in there, and it's nearly all school mums, and it's hilarious seeing 30 and 40 something school mums that you're seeing either the high road or at the school gates.
Yeah.
Suddenly they're dancing, and then the odd one's being sick at the end of the night, But what it's become is, again, nightclubs are gone.
They're gone.
They're completely
gone.
gone.
In 2019 there was 1,500 clubs in the UK. Today we're sitting on like 600, and they're just getting more and more lessons.
I talk to my nieces. Like my niece is like 24 or whatever. They don't really go clubs.
No.
They go festivals, or if there's a big event at a big super club.
Yeah.
Once they're booked the tickets for that. Yeah. They mostly go restaurants where there's DJs, or they go to house parties.
That's right.
Nightclub culture is gone.
I think it's sad.
And it is sad
it's
because
a British culture for us.
I've had parts of nightclubs. I've been a partner in nightclubs, and I used to love it. And you just knew as soon as the pubs come out and the bars come out, that club was filling up with 400 or 500 people
at 10 p.m. 10:30.
That's not happening. That I don't know if it'll ever come back.
I hope it does, but I can't see where it will do.
I don't know what to trigger it, because I always used to talk about 7-year cycles and out, but it's not a cycle no more. That's just stopped.
Yeah. The age group of that 17, 18, 19 missed out on those 3 years.
Yeah.
Stopped this cycle.
Yeah. But I mean, I've been to a couple, like with Misfits, I've been at Manchester, I've been Leeds.
Yeah.
Student sort of towns, you see.
But it's not like it used to be though. The student we used to we used to have the super clubs like 2,500 capacities, 3,000 capacities, rammed Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the weekend. They ain't going out anymore.
Nah. Well,
They find all the clubs. There's no clubs to go to, and if they are, they're just going. They call it prinks now, like pre-drinks at home, and leave at midnight and go to a club.
But you got to think. You got cost of living crisis.
Yeah.
They got less money. You know, you go. We all know supermarkets sell the cheapest booze. It's killed pubs and
£1
bars.
a bottle. Yeah.
You know, and they just don't want to drink as much either.
Yeah. They want to look good on Instagram and have a good.
So society's changing.
Yeah. I'm glad we had it in the 90s.
Yeah. Well, I used to go. I'll
the
tell you
noughties.
what. So between the ages of 18 and 22, I would go out Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
There was a place called Charlie Chan's on a Sunday in Essex.
Yeah.
And we'd go out 4 nights on a run. I mean, I had my girlfriend at the time that I then went on to marry, Chloe. But we'd all go out in a big group of girls, big group of boys, you know, loads of us. And the single ones knew that they would meet someone through going out.
That's what. Yeah.
Now they don't need to do that, do they? They swipe.
Yeah. I couldn't think of anything worse. I used to love going to chats up, like building up the courage of going to have a chat with a bird or teeing up your mates or whatever. It's more fun, wasn't it?
It's not how it goes now.
Yeah.
You know, my 14-year-old boy, you know, they're talking to all these girls online.
Yeah.
I say, you ever met any of them? Oh, no.
No.
Like, okay. I think that'll change when you get older, boy. You know, it's mad.
Adam, I've loved this chat, mate. I've
Same.
really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah. No, thanks for having me, mate.
It was
worth
my
the
pleasure.
drive down. Worth the drive down.
Quality.
But I'm a big fan of your podcast, and you get some good people on there. So I feel a bit honoured, you know, sitting here and that you wanted to hear my story.
I did.
Thank you, mate.
Yeah, you're doing blindings today. Before we finish up, where can people find you?
Right, so Twitter, I'm Essex PR. On Instagram, I'm Adam Brooks Media. And TikTok, I'm Essex PR UK.
Lovely.
And it's something for everyone. Look, hopefully I don't offend people. You know, my Twitter, I can go off on one. But I'm also on GB News on a Wednesday night. I'm a panellist. If you want different opinions, watch our show, 9 to 11, Patrick Christie's show.
Quality.
And I don't hold back. You know, I'm not told what to say. They ask me something and I say,
I'll say it.
like we've sat here and said now.
Cards on the table.
Cards on the table, I say it. And,
Yeah.
you know, I get MPs messaging me, watching it, you know, well, what did you mean there? But suddenly it hits home, you know, a publican, bit real.
Yeah.
You know, maybe they go on their coffee mornings with Susan and Flo down the road. They ain't saying that to them.
Yeah.
I'm saying it to them. You know, and maybe it helps a better understanding. The people that run our lives need to start talking to more people like publicans,
Agree.
like market traders, like taxi drivers.
Agree.
And then suddenly the world, you know, the country might start getting run properly.
I love this whole story, Adam. You've lived certainly an eventful life. What I've taken from this, there's a lot of things I've taken from this, but your old man at the age of 11 and what you've done to carry on the boxing, the pubs, everything you've done with him in mind.
Yeah.
That's really powerful.
He's always been in my mind. And I say, look, now we go on about mental health and people speaking to people. Probably for 10 years, I should have been in counselling after that happened to my dad. But I worked it out and it worked out okay in the end.
Good for you.
You know? But nowadays, you know, I would have been shipped off to go and speak to someone.
Yeah.
Probably put on some tablets or something like that.
Yeah.
But I think when you've worked out a lot of your demons and a lot of your problems in life through mistakes, as I said, you know, I've made a lot of mistakes and I nearly paid for them dearly, that it makes you a stronger person. And I hope my son can look at that. And I'm very honest with him. Daddy did this.
Yeah.
Daddy did that. Can you believe it? And he's like, what? I go, Daddy was lucky not to get arrested. Daddy was lucky not to get hurt. You might not be so lucky.
Yeah.
You know, he said to me, I want a pub. I want a bar. I was like, please don't.
Yeah.
Please don't. It's not the glamorous life. You've lived it. You know, with nightclubs come gangsters.
Yep.
Come ag.
Yep.
Come threats.
Yep. A whole lot.
You know, over the years, God knows what I've had under my bed. I can't even say it in here because I thought I was at threat.
Yeah.
You know, some nights I've whisked my wife off to another house at a friend's, you know, or I've had to tell my mum, tell me if you see a funny car outside your house.
Yeah.
That's not a good life.
No.
And people think, they look at me, I wear my specs on the telly, me blazers and think, who's this idiot? I have got a story, and hopefully they can listen to something like this and think, oh.
Do you know what? You're a really good role model with your little boy. I can hear that now. Before we finish up here, have you got one last word to say to your old man?
I just hope he's proud. Look, if there is such a thing as people looking down, I hope he looks down and thinks, I'm proud of you, son. You know? Not sure I do believe in that. I'm not religious or whatever, but I've always done things to try and make him proud. And again, going back to that first fight with Bash, when I had my arm raised, I bawled my eyes out because that was 30 odd years of emotions with my dad coming out.
Amazing.
But it's amazing what holding things in can do to your mindset. You know, maybe I've been moody for no reason because I've been thinking about that one day. It just, a lot of that left me in September, and I think I'm a better person. So one thing I will say to people is you've got to tackle your demons, and you know, if there's something you want to do for a loved one or whatever, just go and do it, because doing that I'd thought about for so long meant the world to me, and it freed me. You know, you've got to free your mind sometimes. And again, what I would say is I should have spoke to someone in my earlier years. If now you're going, them demons in your head, go and speak to someone, you know, or do something that makes you happy, because bottling things up could end up getting you in trouble or making you ill, you know.
Adam,
so
you're a proper gentleman, mate.
Thanks, Dodge.
Yeah, I've really thoroughly enjoyed this. I wish you all the best for you and your family moving forwards, mate.
And you, thank you.
Quality.
Cheers.
Good man. Nice one.
Cheers.
Hi guys, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Can you do us a favour and subscribe to the channel? It's totally free and it massively helps our show. Cheers guys.